What is up, yo? Happy Tuesday. This video is so golden.
I've always wanted to ask someone that stands up and does cross examinations or spends time working for people because they are the clients, not because they have elected them as some paragon of virtue or whatever.
Yeah.
How morally conflicted do you get when you need to defend or work on behalf of somebody that you have doubts about their character or about how virtuous they are, or you maybe don't even particularly like them or respect them as a person or a human being,
Yeah.
or if you destroy or annihilate somebody in cross examination, like is there a difficulty doing that?
Well, so those are two different questions. So the first one I would say is, what is it like to represent an asshole or someone you don't believe in, right? Or to weaponize against a nice person, right?
Yep.
So when you represent someone you know is guilty or you know is a jerk or you know probably doesn't deserve the relief, like someone who's just putting the kids right in the middle to gain tactical advantage or financial advantage. At, I was once described, and I think the person meant it as a compliment, but they wrote in a review of me and it stuck that I was the sociopath you want on your side. That's what someone described me as. And I don't think I'm a sociopath, but I will tell you, I believe in our system. I believe in democracy. I believe in our legal system. It's not perfect, but just like democracy, our version of democracy, it's awful except for all the other ones. I think it's a good example of how to do things right. It's not perfect, but it does things right a lot of the time. And a absolute key to it is vigorous advocacy. That everyone is entitled to vigorous advocacy, whether if it's a criminal proceeding, the state has the burden of proof, and you have the right to vigorous representation, to confront witnesses, to elicit testimony, to a vigorous defense. So I believe in that, and I lean on that when I'm representing someone who I look at them and I go, yeah, this is not a nice person or a good person. I will tell you, the truth has a way of coming out. Sometimes, despite my best efforts, the truth has a way of coming out. Like, I can throw up a lot of smoke and mirrors. I can do a lot of real great show. I can put on a show. And, people buy the sizzle as much as they buy the steak. But at the end of the day, it's the steak, and you can taste if it's garbage. You can taste if it's rotted. And so the truth has a way of coming out. The truth fears no trial in my experience. Now, the other question that's an interesting question, I don't think I've been asked before, is what is it like to weaponize against a person who you know is probably a nice person and to eviscerate them on the stand? And that's, I will say, it's not it's not pleasant to do from a interpersonal standpoint, but in my line of work, you get very interested in like the technique of argument. So you're really thinking more about how you're doing what you're doing than the morality of what you're doing. And again, I feel sort of like in Gross Point Blank, the John Cusack film about an assassin. He's breaks into the guy's hotel room to assassinate him, and he's like over him with his bed. And he's got the gun, and the guy wakes up and he looks at him. And he says, "Please, whatever it is, like, I'm sorry, whatever it is, don't do this." And he says, "I'm not the one who has a problem with you, pal." And then he shoots the guy. And it's kind of the truth. Like, I'm not the one. I didn't tell you to get in the ring. Like I would have told you don't. But you partly get very caught up in the technique of it. I love trial work. It's just, like I said, it's an intellectual kind of combat. It's like debate with higher stakes in some ways, and it's with it's real time. Like it's an art form. I mean, it's a blast to do. So I really get caught more in the technique of it than the morality of it. But I have a chapter in the book where I talk about a case that I should have lost and I won, and that I felt quite badly about, because the reason I won was that the lawyer I was against was very inexperienced and not very talented, and they couldn't get a piece of evidence in, and I won as a result of that, and really I shouldn't have. And my client, who was a vicious human being who had brutally beaten this woman up, he walked out free, and he actually patted me on the back as we were walking out of court, and he said, one good lawyer is better than 20 stick-up men. And I remember I kind of felt dirty at the end of that case. And curiously enough, like I wrote about it in the book about, I don't know, 10 years later, maybe more. And when I read my audio, when you're recording an audio book, you sit in a booth and you have to read your book. And you've never read your book out loud. Like, who the hell reads their book out loud? I wrote it, but I never read it out loud. And you read the whole book out loud to yourself. And I got about halfway through that chapter and I got choked up and I had to take a break. And I remember thinking, that's weird. I did not see that coming. I wrote that chapter and I didn't feel that way. I've read that chapter. I didn't feel that way, but something about reading that chapter out loud made it feel real to me that I had been part of justice not being done. And that felt ugly.
Yeah. What's the reality of the American divorce?
The lawyer talks about how you can blow smoke all you want, but the truth comes out, and the system always has a way to shine light on the truth. I have followed many of his podcasts. I have listened to quite a few of his speeches, but I definitely can understand where he's coming from, and he knows his stuff. You can watch his full clip on YouTube under Modern Wisdom. He even felt sick defending somebody he knew was guilty. That began making me think about what we're going through as a community. Don't try to fight. Don't try to prove your innocence. Don't try to prove your side of the story. Everything will come out naturally. And like I tell myself when it comes to my kids, the truth always does come out, and it finds this beautiful way of just making everything click. So don't be focused on trying to control the narrative. Focus on the internal factors. It will come. You might be trying to defend the newer version of yourself, but they're battling the older version of you, the one that hurt them, the one that left the impression onto them, the one that they saw do the acts or heard, and now we're trying to forgive. Remember that. It is not you in this current moment that they are hating. It was you who you were and that what you did to hurt them. People may forgive, but they will never forget how you made them feel. I wish that wasn't the case, but it most definitely is. You will never forget how somebody made you feel. That's why it's very important to also make somebody feel like you gave them the best feeling, feel like as if you truly support them, genuinely care for them, be in the business of serving other people. Every interaction, every way that you look at somebody, every single way that you make somebody feel is very important, because they will never forgive or forget if you made them feel very bad. Your partner isn't mad at you. Your partner is mad at the person that you were and the acts that you did, and are now possibly embarrassed because of the way that you made them embarrassed in front of their friends, their family, the people that they brought involved into your situation. Kids will be used. It's only natural. Do what you can, control what you can, control your actions, sit back, observe, reflect, let them be the ones to react. Do not react. In a relationship, we don't just judge, we don't just fight the person in front of us. We fight the memory of it that used to be, the version that hurt us, ignored us, checked out, lied, or shut down. That lawyer was saying you can defend somebody all day, but the truth always does come out. Remember that. Don't focus on controlling the narrative. Don't control what you can't control. And relationships are the same. You can say you've changed, but your partner is still looking at the old evidence. As a man, I've been that old version. The guy that was checked out. The guy who was stressed, emotionally gone. So eventually when I showed up and tried to be the new man that I wanted to present to her, my wife wasn't mad at me, she was mad at the old person that I was. She was still hurt by the old me. You don't fix that by demanding trust. You fix it by being consistent enough that the old you finally stops showing up. Your partner isn't crazy, emotional, or dramatic. They're protecting themselves from who you used to be. So the goal isn't to convince them, it's to keep showing up as the man you're becoming until that old version finally loses the case. Healing starts when your old actions outvote your old mistakes. Now you can keep fighting this all day long, trying to control what little bits you have, but the actions are already been done. Now the action is to get right, seek therapy, get in a good mental headspace, change your environment, go buy yourself a coffee, kick up that gear. I like to say it as I like to ride dirt bikes, kick the gear up and just ride this wave and be the best person you can. Learn from your actions and be a better person. I promise you they're going to respect you a lot more. Be good. Later.